Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Live in Italy magazine. I am super excited today to welcome Nicki Storey of the Positano Diaries on YouTube. Nicki was born in the UK and now lives in Positano with her family. She is a professional makeup artist and has had a YouTube channel since 2006. Since then, she has been producing regular content every single week. You can see a slice of her life and what it's like living in Positano, and has built an incredible following of more than 160,000 people. So today we're going to be talking to Nicki about her careers and her life in Positano as an expat. My name is Lisa Morales, and I am the editor of Live in Italy magazine, a lifestyle publication dedicated to all things Italy. So Nicki, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for asking me. It's a pleasure.
So it almost seems silly to talk about how you got to Italy and some certain things, but we hope today that we'll share a few things about your life that maybe hasn't been known, or that can go back into that great volume of videos that you have shared with the world, and get to know you more about your life in Positano. So, but let's pretend somebody's watching today and doesn't know you. Okay, so please, let's talk about where you're born.
I was born, everyone knows where I was born. I was born in Wimbledon, where the tennis championships are.
Okay, that I missed. That's great.
Yeah, so I was born in Wimbledon. I lived in Surrey, which is just southwest of London. It only took 25 minutes by train to get into the centre of London from where I lived, but it was very countryside-ish. It was like that classic quintessential English countryside area. Very nice. Lovely.
Sounds beautiful. And so for anyone who has been watching your YouTube channel for a while, they realize that you had been vacationing in Italy for quite some time, since being very young. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so basically what happened was, when I was 12, one of my best friends from school, her parents invited me to come on their family holiday in Positano, and I came with them and we stayed at the Sirenusi Hotel, and we had an absolutely amazing time. We were 12 years old. Positano is so small that the beach area doesn't have any roads, so it's very safe for kids, and you've got a lot more freedom than you would, especially growing up around London. So we were free to run around the beach area, and we absolutely loved it from the minute we went there. I think I cried the first time I left. And then I went back with them every summer, and over the years made friends with a lot of the local kids, and just really, really felt at home here right from the beginning. So that's how I first came here, with a school friend and her family.
That's beautiful. That sounds ideal, and what a great place to get away, obviously, and enjoy your summer. So did you ever go there with your own family?
No, they've been to visit me here, but we never all went as a family. No, never.
Okay, so you were very lucky, a good friend to have then.
Yeah. It was it's funny because that friend now lives in Lucca in North Italy. She's settled in Italy as well, so we both ended up here. Yeah.
That's really great. That's really great. Obviously, I mean, her spending so much time here too in Positano, you know, that just kind of cemented her connection, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to be able to do that. So since then, you have obviously been going back and forth. I believe you studied Italian while in England, right?
Well, just a little bit, really. I didn't study much at all. I did probably about one lesson a week for one school year. I mean, really wasn't, but it was just a few basics. I learned the language from being here and from just really immersing myself in. I bought children's books, I read them. I had the radio on all the time, listening to the words and starting to recognize them. And slowly, like a jigsaw puzzle, it all fitted together and I started understanding things. It took a while, it took about 9 months until I felt that I was pretty much fluent. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
never really studied, especially here. I never took lessons while I was here. So, I mean, that's why my Italian is still so bad when I'm writing it. I have to now ask my daughter to correct my emails for me before I send them.
Oh, that's well, I mean, it's amazing that you've learned as much as you had. And it's obviously a long term process, but being there, of course. And I know that myself because I am starting to learn Italian, you know, being thrown into this. I realized, you know, it's right for me to do so. And obviously it helps. And I have a great respect now for people who come here not knowing the language and having to do that. It is definitely never easy.
Yeah.
And takes a very long time. So you are now, we can know by your videos that you are now married to Carlo. How many years have you been married?
We're together for, hang on, wait, what year are we in? It's easy, 21 years, because we sort of got together around about the millennium time. So yeah, 21 years.
That's amazing. And what an amazing life you have built together with your home and your garden. And if anybody obviously is watching your videos, I just find it incredible that you are 500 steps from the road. So that's an incredible daily workout.
It is a workout, but it's not a complete workout. I thought that I would probably, I know my lungs are in really, really good condition because I had a health check a few years ago and they told me I had the lungs of a 20-year-old, which was amazing. But I think in general, you tend to walk the steps very slowly here. So you're not as fit as you think you may be. And I discovered this a couple of years ago when I was back in England for the winter. And I decided to enroll in the local gym and go and take some classes that I'd never done before. I was terrible at everything. And I went in there convinced I'd be so good at spinning and yoga and Pilates. And I was literally the worst at every single class I took. And it was quite embarrassing. So I think my lungs are healthy and my legs are probably strong. But I mean, yeah, it's a good cardio workout, but it needs to be balanced with other things.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, that's just even if you just have a regular fitness regimen, you could be strong in one area and then, you know, weak in another area. But it seems like just an amazing lifestyle to have. But also, like, I can't imagine walking up and down those steps every single day. And also, you have, you know, obviously you're surrounded by a lot of elderly people as well. To think that they're continuing to do that and that's been part of their lifestyle is amazing.
Yeah, it's hard for them. I mean, they do a lot. Usually they get to a point where they just, depending on where they live in town, for instance, my father-in-law is really housebound now. He can't really handle the 300 steps from his house to the road. And he's stuck at home mostly now, unfortunately. So it is very limiting when you get older, depending on how fit you are and how healthy you are. So it can be a problem, but it's just the way it is here. And these people have always known this and they haven't known any other way of living, and they've never lived somewhere where they've been at road level. So it's perfectly normal for them.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about your life in England. Obviously, during the pandemic, you have found yourself just kind of stuck, not only just in Italy, but sometimes at times within just your immediate area, your immediate vicinity because of that. And hopefully that'll change. But prior to that, I believe you were traveling back and forth to England.
Yeah, I would go back. I mean, in the winter, I'd pretty much go back every month for a week or so. I mean, you can often in the winter here, you can get a flight from Naples to London for less than the cost of a train ticket from Naples to Rome. So I would often fly and just spend a few days with my dad or with my brother and then come back here. I'd come and go all the time. And unfortunately now it's been over a year. I haven't been back, I haven't been able to go. I really, really miss going and I can't wait to go and see my dad again and see my brothers. It's a shame because it was nice to have that little break from here and also to just get back to my roots for a few days at a time and see friends and family that that I don't see very often. So yes, I have missed that over the last year, I've got to say.
Yeah, I think that's hard for a lot of us. And I think that's the amazing thing about seeing your videos and the comments is you've provided this connection to people who have been kind of detached from travel, you know, from Italy for either family reasons or just the love of Italy. So that's just been amazing. You've been a great bridge. So although it's been very difficult for you, you know, I hope you see yourself as that. And we'll get more into your YouTube channel in a little bit. But I do want to talk about a very important family member who I personally love is your dog, Holly. Now, I hope everybody, and we'll provide the link below on how you met Holly, but Holly is Nicki's, their family pet. You have a few, I see, but I'm especially attached to Holly. And so can you tell me briefly, or tell us briefly about how Holly came about?
So about 8 years ago now, we were renovating this house that we now live in. This house has been in Carlo's family for years, but it had been abandoned for about 13 years. It was just sitting here empty. Nobody wanted to live here because of the amount of steps. So we decided that we could handle it and we could do the steps, and we wanted to live here, but it needed a lot of work done to it. So while we were painting and sanding and doing all the renovations, there was a lot of going up and down the steps. And Carlo went up to the road to get some wood or something, and he went to the car, which was in this tiny little car park at the top of the road, and he phoned me and he said, "There's a little dog in the car park, it's following me, what do I do?" And I said, "Oh, it's probably a stray, let it follow you. When you get down, find a tin of tuna or something, put a bowl of water out, it'll probably sleep for a bit, leave the gate open, because they normally just go after a while, because there's quite a few stray dogs around here, and they seem to always be searching for somebody, for maybe who left them or whatever. We don't know the story, but they normally like to have something to eat, something to drink, they'll have a nap, and then they go again." So he brought her here, she came in, she had something to eat, she drank, she slept for a bit, and she stayed. And he phoned me that evening, and by that point I was back down in the apartment that we lived in the town centre, and he said, "This little doggie's still here, it's been following me all day, I'm ready to come home now, what should I do?" I said, "Well, just see if it follows you." And she followed him all the way down to the centre of town where we were living back then, and he brought her in, and I looked at her and she was filthy, she was so dirty, she smelt so bad. And I said, "Well, if she's staying here, she's got to have a bath." And it was a bit like, well, hopefully she won't bite me. We didn't really know anything about her. So very carefully, I put her in the bath and I washed her. I had to use baby shampoo because that's all I had. And she was as good as gold. And she slept on the sofa. And the next day I came back up here and I was walking around the garden. And every time I took a step, she went and came close to me, and she would just touching my leg. And I'd move and she'd come to my leg again, and I'd move and she'd come to my leg. She stayed attached to my leg for the rest of the day, and she never left us since. And this is why I don't really need to put a lead on her when we walk around town, because I can feel her. I can feel that she's right, brushes up against my ankle the whole time. She's got that terror I think a lot of abandoned dogs do, where they don't want to leave you. They don't want to let you out of their sight. So she's always with us.
Yeah, and I think that's just such an amazing chemistry and connection to see, because I feel that her personality is a reflection of you. Like she has that need to wander and look and kind of, you know, roam around, and she's curious, just like you. I mean, our pets adapt our personality anyway, but that's a good point, is that obviously she's found a home and she doesn't want to lose it. So yeah, I was curious, and I guess maybe some other people, how she manages to get around without a lead.
Yeah,
so that's amazing.
Put a lead on when it's very busy down in the town centre.
Yes.
Lead on her, not so much for her because I trust her to stay with me, but for the other people, because there are people that are scared of dogs. There are people that are disapproving of a dog, or they think she's homeless if they see her not on a lead. So I will clip a lead on her when there's a lot of people around. Or of course, if we're somewhere that she doesn't know, if we went to Naples or to Sorrento or something, I put her on a lead. But around here, we don't really need to.
Yeah, and also I guess when you're in busier areas, you often talk about the traffic and the narrow roads. So you know it that at times I imagine it can be dangerous, not just for humans but also for the pets
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. So very interesting. Let's get into Positano. So one of the questions that I prepared was, you know, just to talk about what it's like to live in a small town. So obviously you're a foreigner. So can you tell us kind of like the good and bad?
So, well, Positano has been host to a lot of foreign residents for many, many years.
Yes.
I mean, even if you go back to the very beginning of the 1900s, there was a lot of foreign artists and writers that would come here and spend years and years here. So it's something that the locals have always been used to. And just so you know, so Positano has roughly 3,800 residents. And there's definitely a good few hundred foreigners. I mean, but a real mixture. I mean, we've got absolutely everything here. We've got English, Australian, American, we've got Venezuelan, we've got Colombian, we've got a lot of Brazilians, we've got Polish, we've got Russians, we've got Germans, we've got Swiss, everything. There's a bit of everything.
No, that's great.
So there's a good little community. There's a great little Brazilian community. They're fun. But yeah, it's nice in the sense that you never feel lonely here. It's not like in a city where you could maybe step outside where you live, but you don't know anybody. Here, you step outside and you know everybody. And there's always somebody to talk to. There's always somebody to ask advice or just hang out and pass time with. And I really appreciate that. It's a really nice thing to have here. But then again, there is that thing about being a foreigner and never being 100% accepted. I think most people will find that wherever they live in the world, if it's not their country that they were born in. But there is a sense of that as well sometimes. I mean, pretty much every time I go out, even just walking around the village, somebody will say to me, "Oh, I thought you were a tourist." And it's like just a little reminder that you're never going to be one of us type thing. So that happens, but it's all part of it, and it's not really a problem. It's not problematic.
Like you said, I think that's kind of typical life as a foreigner. Wherever you're going to go, you're always going to be a bit of a novelty and oddity. Yes, I think that's normal. So you said that everybody knows everybody, and I imagine, you know, being kind of, I would imagine you are a personality in your town now too. No, not at all.
Not at all. I'd say probably about half the people wouldn't even, or more than half the people wouldn't even know about my videos. I don't. In fact, I've noticed, because I've been here for so long, I've been living here for 22 years. So nowadays I'm noticing that when I'm going into shops and cafes and restaurants, some of the waiting staff will greet me in English. They'll be like, "Hello, can I help you?" And they're like in their early 20s. So when I arrived here, they were in nappies. They were babies.
Yes.
They don't really know who I am at all. The only time they figure it out when I say, "I'm Sky's mum." And they're like, "Oh, Sky, yeah, we know Sky." And yeah, they don't know who I am. I mean, even this morning I went out for breakfast and I had to say to the waitress, I'm a resident here. I live here. You don't have to talk to me in English. I speak Italian. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I don't know you." And that, I mean, yeah, it happens.
Well, I would say then that's kind of a good thing, because you have your public life on YouTube, and you know, I guess that's for your audience and other people, but at least when you're at home, you're not walking into a place. But I imagine it's a bit of a challenge if you're walking in with a camera. You have to do like the rest of us do, is ask for permission and let people know what you're doing.
I pretty much always ask for permission when I'm going in somewhere, unless I know for instance, there's certain restaurants and cafes that know exactly what I do, and we've already had the talk. They're perfectly happy for me to film or not, and I just respect what their decision is. And I either don't get my camera out at all, or I'm filming away perfectly happily. So, I mean, I like it that people join in. So I try and encourage people to join in. But if they don't want to, if they're camera shy, or if they don't want something to be filmed, I just leave it. Yeah.
And that brings me to something that I'm always curious about, seeing in our age of YouTube and social media, is that one thing personally that I can say, and I imagine, I represent a lot of people who watch your channel, is that you have exposed such a beautiful side of Positano in your whole area, that we are living in a kind of Instagrammable life where a lot of young people, and they also get paid for it as influencers, that are going in and just giving, those great shots and things like that. And I sometimes wonder, are they really seeing what they're documenting? Are they really there? Are they living the experience? And that, I will give you some insight, is the mission of the magazine. It's not necessarily live in Italy, pack your bags and go to Italy, and it can be metaphorically. It could be, if you're going to go into a country, make the effort, learn a few sentences in the common language, go away from the tourist area, connect with people. So that's a long introduction to the question, but talk to me about that. How do you feel that you have maybe had an influence on moving away from what Positano can often, or any of that area, look like on Instagram compared to what you're doing?
Okay, so this goes back to quite a long time ago, and I'm talking like 10, maybe even 15, maybe 14 years ago. I found a blog post online, it's probably not there anymore, and it was a long time ago, that somebody had been to Positano and they'd written their review of it, and they'd written that Positano is a tourist-built town, built especially for tourists. People don't really live there. They only come in to work there and serve the tourists, and then they all leave. And that upset me so much, because I just thought, who is this person? And then they carried on writing, and they'd come in by ferry. They'd wandered through the beach area. They'd got to the piazza outside the main church, and they decided they'd seen everything and came back down again. And I was so upset by that. And I thought, how many people come away with this opinion that this isn't a real place? This has been built for tourists. It's like some sort of Disney World. And I just thought, I've got to do everything I can to try and change people's opinion. And then over the last few years, what with the rise of Instagram, I've noticed that a lot of people come here with, and I hate this phrase, a bucket list. And they have this Positano bucket list, and every single person has exactly the same things on this list, and it's all they're interested in is ticking off these 4 or 5 things that they have to do because this is what they've been recommended and this is what all the guides recommend, and they just go and do these 5 things, and there's 5,000 other people doing all the same things, and then they're gone again. And they usually stay 3 or 4 nights, tick off the list, and they're gone. And it just makes you think, what did they really see? Did they see, I mean, I've got up at dawn to go kayaking, and I've seen people queuing up at the end of the beach in their best fancy dresses to get that classic Instagram photo of themselves in the beautiful dress on the beach with Positano empty behind them. I've seen people queuing up to do that.
Wow.
It's funny, but it's upsetting.
I think so. It's sad, I would say.
Yeah. And also the bucket list things, because these bucket list things have become so oversaturated with tourists all wanting to do the same thing and getting the same shot and just getting there to go and do the shot and say that they've done it, they've been there, that they miss out on so many other things. And this is why in the last couple of years, I upped my game on YouTube and tried to start showing so many more things to do around the coast than the beach and the hike of the gods. There's so many different hikes to do in the area. There's so many different more to do, but people just want to do that one, and lunch here and aperitivi there. And I just wanted to try and show people that there was more to Positano than these 5 famous places that everybody knows about. So that's been my aim for a good couple of years now, is to just educate people and try and get people more interested in what there is to see and do in this whole area.
And I think you've done that successfully. And I guess you can see that by your feedback. Do you get a lot of response to that, and people, you know, telling you, wow, I didn't know, or maybe it's an area they wouldn't have gone into because they're worried about the tourists, and they would definitely go to now to see.
Yeah, I think it's really nice when I get feedback from people saying, I did this because you showed me it in a video and I really enjoyed it. Or the best compliment I get is every now and again, somebody from Positano says, I think you know more about this area than we do, which is a great compliment. Because
that is a great compliment.
Yeah, I'm out there and I'm like, does anybody know of any caves or any castles or any new pathway? And I get people to tell me, whereas maybe it's like if you live in a place, you probably haven't been to the touristy areas, but I really do go out there and ask everybody I can, is there anything interesting around here? What can I see? What can I do? Where can I go? And try and find all
no, that's great. And for anyone who is watching Nicki's videos regularly, I remember at one point we won't get into this, but you had mentioned about drones. That's another kind of very invasive thing now into the traveler's life, which again, I feel is taking people away from really seeing it. Yes, you can come out of it with this amazing footage, but did you really see and experience it while you're there? But that's another story. But okay, so this is crucial. You had talked about how you've now even helped people who are in the area see things. So what about during the pandemic? Did you feel, because you had to, you didn't have to, but you wanted to come up with content, did you start discovering things in Positano, the immediate area, that you had not known before?
A few things, yes. I mean, during the pandemic, it was very, very strict here. So we weren't really allowed more than 200 meters from our house. So I suddenly got on a creative streak. I don't know how. It just happened. Like we just suddenly, being stuck here, we found so many more things to do right here, to the point where we even, so right outside my house, there's a valley with a very steep stream bed, which when it pours with rain, it becomes a torrential stream, but most of the time it's empty. I've never been down, but during the pandemic, we climbed down and explored the whole valley, and it was like this incredible Jurassic Valley. It was beautiful, and it was absolutely stunning. But yeah, I mean, it was hard to discover new places because for so long, especially last year, nothing was open. We couldn't go anywhere. We weren't allowed to do anything. But it did make me more creative. But once we got out of the whole lockdown situation, we did start trying to make the most of going and visiting other places, and going to Amalfi even, and going to Ravello. And it's like, oh my God, how long has it been? Because also because of the pandemic, my viewers suddenly grew. And I think because Italy went into lockdown before anywhere else in the world, everybody went online to see what was happening in Italy. And I sort of got found like that. And then I felt like I had to produce one because I had nothing else to do at the time. I started doing 2 videos a week, and I told some of the history of the town, all sorts of things. I mean, most of it was DIY at home.
Oh, that's amazing. And so let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. So I would say I am more or less the same. I discovered you during the pandemic. So most of your most recent content I have, but I haven't gotten too far back. I mean, you've just produced so many videos. I don't even know if you have a number, but the thing is, it goes back to 2006. And I went all the way back to the beginning, and it's RoboCop dancing. So if you could just like share a little about, how did that happen? And was that your intention? And did you kind of know that you wanted to do this?
No, so, okay. When YouTube first started, which can't have been much before 2006, I was literally using YouTube as a hard drive, somewhere to store my videos. It didn't really occur to me that people were going to go and watch them. And I was just putting little video clips on, and every now and again I would upload them to my blog that I had at the time. That's offline now, so nobody can see that. But I used to upload little clips to this blog, and I think it was the easiest way to do it was to put it on YouTube and then just use the link. So I used to keep, in fact, I've got quite a few private videos on there, family stuff as well. But once I realized people were watching them, I was like, hang on a minute, that wasn't made for the public, and I had to make it right. The RoboCop one, I don't remember uploading it to YouTube. I must have just done it automatically, but it was Peter Weller, who's the actor that plays RoboCop, has a house here in Positano. So he got married, and I happened to be in a friend's hotel right opposite the church as they came out, and they had hired all these musicians and dancers, and they had this whole Neapolitan tarantella dance thing going on. And I don't even remember, I must have had a camera with me, and I just started filming it, and I filmed a couple of minutes and stuck it on YouTube. But it didn't really occur to me that I was putting it there for people to see. I was just putting it there to save it somewhere.
That's interesting. And you left it there,
but
which is a nice.
What we've realized is, looking back at older videos, because there are actual vlogs from like 2011, 2012. I was definitely vlogging back then, before I really knew it was a thing. I don't know who I thought was going to look at them. But the funny thing was, this winter we were going through some really old video cassettes from my dad's house. And we found a video of me making a vlog when I was 16 years old. So that's like before the internet even existed. So it's something that for some reason I've always done. I would pick up my dad's video camera and go around and making videos. And this is my school, and this is what we're doing today. And today we're going to go and do this. We're going to go for a walk here. And I'd explain what I was doing. I don't know who I was doing it for, but it's funny now to look back and see that.
Yes, and you've mentioned that you've always had a camera in your hand.
Yes. Well, so my whole family was in the TV production industry. My dad was a cameraman who then turned floor manager and production manager. My mom was a vision mixer. My brother worked for NBC Sports, I think, or NBC News, I think, or Reuters. I don't even remember. But the whole family was involved in TV production, and I was pretty much brought up in a TV studio from the minute I was born. And I think it just was naturally part of me to do something that was connected to that in some way. Once I left the industry, because obviously before I came here, I was working in the TV industry as a makeup artist. So I think it was just that, and I just kept on going in my way.
And I think that a lot of people, when you're watching YouTube, the ones that have done it successfully, it's no accident. There's a lot of hindsight. There's a lot of experience that go into that. Storytelling is not easy, and putting it together and having a narrative and a theme and a purpose. And so let's just talk a little bit about the fact that you are a makeup artist. So is there a correlation between understanding lighting and things like that have kind of helped you in producing videos?
I think my dad has been my biggest help, in the sense that he's watched every single video that I've ever made, and he will guide me through it. He will phone me up and he'll tell me what I did wrong, how I held the camera wrong, how I moved wrong, how to avoid the lighting doing this. And he will just very, very patiently teach me every little step of what I'm doing and how to do it better, how to put a fade in, or where I should have put a fade in, or a cross dissolve, how to get the audio right, how to block a reflection. He's just always there telling me what to do. So I obviously want to please my dad, so I listen to him and I do what he tells me, like a good girl.
That's amazing. Do you ever go back to some of those videos, let's say produced more than 10 years ago, and just kind of squirm, now that you know more?
I don't go back and look at them. I very rarely go back and look at a video unless I think I need to use part of it, and then I'll go and fish it out. But I don't, not for any reason. I just don't think I've got time to even think about looking at old videos. And I did quite cringy about it.
Well, lately, I guess during the pandemic, you've been producing at least one video a week. I believe comes out on Sunday. So yeah, you've been doing one or two, right?
I'm doing 2 videos a week up until about 6 weeks ago, and I just had to step back because there's just no time off. There's no time to sit down and say, today I don't want to film, I don't want to edit, I don't want to subtitle, I don't want to think about it. There was just no time to do that because it was just constant, and there's nobody else who could take over and do it for me. So I just said, I'm going to have to drop back and start doing one a week. And every now and again, if I can get an extra one out, I will, but I'm not going to kill myself to do it. I just felt it was important for my personal well-being to just step back and do one a week.
Yeah, and we brought this up before. It's really hard when you're in this world because you're constantly battling the algorithm. But at the same time, you know, as a creator, I imagine it's important to take a risk because otherwise you do become a slave to it and you have to have a break. You know, this is a, you know, a lifestyle that just never has an ending to it, and it must be challenging. So when do you think, you can say more or less, did you really feel that the vlogging and that was something that could become, I mean, I don't want to say like a career, or maybe you want to call it a career. I'm not saying that it's not a career, but when did you really think, hey, this is a serious thing, I can do something consistent, I want to do this, like I want to make this a big part of my life?
I wanted to do it. So as you've seen, I've been randomly uploading videos on and off for years and years. And then it got to the end of 2019, and I'd put a few up in 2019. I'd done consistent videos at least once a month. And then it got to the new year, and most new years I give myself a new challenge at the beginning of every year. Some years I learned to crochet, some years I learned to play the ukulele. Give myself a challenge. At the end of 2019, I said to myself, for 2020, I'm going to challenge myself to make YouTube work for me. I want to see if I can build it up, get a bit of a following, and see if I can get better at making videos. And the videos I've always made, not so much for everybody else, I've also made them for me. Like it's like a way of writing, instead of writing a diary, I'll make a video of fun that we've done. And it's a nice way to look back in the future. Hopefully one of us will look back and enjoy watching it. And so I said to myself, this is going to be it. I'm going to produce one video a week. And if within 6 months, nothing's happening, I'll just forget about it. That's what I said to myself. So I gave it a new name. I rebranded it. I called it the Positano Diaries because it didn't have a name before. And I came up with the little circle with the Positano Diaries. Very, very simple. And I just said, I'm going to try and record just little bits every week and just stick it in a video, try and get like a 15 to 20 minute video. So I started doing that. And I think I was getting about 4,000 views per video. I'd have to go back and have a look. I'm not really sure. And then, of course, at the beginning of March, everything changed. We went into lockdown, and suddenly overnight, I was getting 20,000 views. And so it jumped right, like because of the pandemic, it jumped up, and suddenly lots more people were watching my videos, and lots of people were writing in saying, oh, we can't come to Italy. We're so glad we can see what's happening there. Thank you for doing this. And I was just like, okay, well, this is working. Let's just keep going. So I just kept going. And then obviously it just kept slowly building. So then, then December, this last December, so December 2020, I put out a video that sort of went viral, and that changed everything again, because that video itself has brought in over 60,000 new followers. I haven't checked lately how many, but it was a bit of a panic day. It's me and Carlo was saying, we need to make a video. What are we going to do? It's terrible weather. It was December. It was before Christmas. It was like terrible weather. Nothing's happening. What are we going to do? We really need to make a video. And I said, no, we need to go and do the shopping. We've got to get some food in the house. And jokingly, I said, let's make a video while we do the shopping. And so we did. We went to the grocery store and we asked, I said, would it be okay if I filmed myself doing the shopping? They were like, yeah, why? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to do it, okay? Can I film you? Can I film the... And they were like, yeah, whatever you want. And they were like, what on earth is she doing? Silly English girl. And so we filmed ourselves doing the shopping, and then filmed ourselves, because we did quite a big shop. So we then, of course, we've got to film ourselves bringing it down the 500 steps to the house. And I put it up, I edited it, stuck it up on YouTube. And I think up to now it's had over 1,400,000 views.
That's crazy.
If I knew that would have happened, I could have done it so much better. I would have dressed nicer. I would have done my hair better. I would have made it better. I would have made more of an effort. But you just never know with YouTube what it's going to do with your videos. You just don't know.
Although I believe now it's called a shopping haul, which are really big. So everybody's trying to do it.
I know.
But that's amazing.
Such a funny one. But yeah, I mean, that really helped a lot. And then from that video, I started earning a bit of money because of the amount of people that came in after that video. So then I started earning something, which was great. It was just such a great bonus because obviously because of the pandemic, I've lost all of my makeup work in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I went that 80 weddings in a summer period to last year when I did 3. And you can't survive on 3 weddings, not just doing makeup. So I was very grateful that I suddenly had this opportunity to earn something, and it's pretty much kept us going because I don't have anything else. Even now, this year, I've got 10 weddings. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yes, yeah. It has been staggering, to see the ripple effect of businesses that you just kind of took for granted that have had to. But I'm so glad that this has worked for you. And we'll make sure we put in the link for your Patreon subscriptions too, because that's also too, as viewers, is that, we can opt in and give what we like. And it's to help support, content like yours that we love. I mean, you have given so many people, like I said, that inside view to life. You've opened up your life to so many people, which is very admirable. So let's talk a little bit about YouTube. You've expressed already how many hours it takes. I believe, does Carlo help you with some of that? Is he doing the drone, or is this mostly, your project?
So Carlo flies the drone. That's his thing. I don't even want to get into that. I don't think I'm coordinated enough to be able to do that. And I do everything else. Every now and again, he'll get his phone and he'll record a little bit for me and then say, I've made you a video, and he'll send me a couple of bits. And I do everything else though. So and I've had people laugh at me saying it's not a proper job. I mean, all you've got to do is film a video. It's not. It's a lot of work after you've made the video, because we film on a camera, maybe on a GoPro, sometimes on a drone, on our phones if they're handy and they're the nearest thing we've got. And then you've got to pull all of that footage in. It takes a good 10 hours or so to edit it. And then there's the audio that you've got to choose music and get that into it. And
sometimes, and there's licensing too, right? Because I noticed
I have a subscription to, it's called Epidemic Sound, and it's a music subscription service, which is copyright free music. So I use that freely. I pay a monthly subscription and I can use any music from that website, which is fine. It makes it much easier. But the problem is that, for example, I recently filmed a video where we were in a restaurant and we were filming what they were cooking and how they're cooking, and they had the radio blaring the whole time. And I can't have any of that audio because I will get a copyright strike.
That's right.
Which is very awkward. For example, one of my videos I had to take offline. It was an old one. I think it was in 2012. I'd filmed the carnival procession in Positano. And of course, all the kids dancing through town with all the carnival floats, but there's music playing. And YouTube gave me a copyright strike because you could hear the music. But you can't mute the music from a carnival because then what are you watching? It doesn't, you have to have the music there for the atmosphere. So it makes it very hard. So there's a lot of fiddling around before the video is ready to go online. So I think the last video I've just made, which is half an hour long, but it's taken me 3 full days to edit it and get it ready. And during those 3 full days, I'm still having to stop editing and go out and film something else because things are always happening, especially at the moment when we've got the tomato harvest and we're canning tomatoes, and that's not going to wait for me. I'm either going to be there or I'm going to miss it, and all sorts of things happening as well. So it's just and then of course what did somebody say to somebody left me a message yesterday on Instagram saying, oh my God, you don't have a housekeeper? How do you manage? I'm like, of course I don't have a housekeeper. No, I have to look after everything here as well. I've got animals to feed, I've got chickens to clean out, I've got wash loads to do. We've got a whole garden to water and fruit to pick and vegetables to pick and canning and preserving, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And two meals.
And I just watched your video, and at some point it's dark, and you're taking the laundry and everything, and I find that amazing. I identify with that a lot. My parents are European. We grew up in, I grew up in Toronto. Both my parents, who were separated, gardened. I used to resent it as a teenager because we had a compost hole, and I used to have to help with it. Like, they grew as much as they could in a very small plot. And when I see you, it brings back really kind of, well, now fond memories. At the time they weren't. But I find it amazing how much time, and it's really incredible. And that is, I think that has a lot to go back to kind of authentic living. You and Carlo have made a choice to have this kind of lifestyle, right? Yeah. Living off your own land.
Well, we didn't make the choice to do that. The land has always been in the family, and the land has always been farmed. Carlo's father has always come up here. He actually bought the land to grow his own food on. That was the whole thing. And then eventually the house got built. But this is, our choice was to come and live here because of the space we had. Because when we were down in an apartment in the town centre, we didn't even have a balcony. We had no outdoor space at all. And I felt very, very trapped there. I felt in this tiny little apartment that wasn't ours. We weren't allowed to paint the walls. We weren't allowed to change anything. We weren't allowed to get rid of the old sofa. It didn't feel like home because it wasn't our home. It was somebody else's, and they were letting us pay to live there. So when we eventually moved up here and we had free reign to do whatever we wanted to this place, it was a dream come true. And I have embraced the whole growing the food in the garden also because, I mean, do you really want to buy a 5 kilo sack of potatoes and haul it down 500 steps? Or would you buy some for your own? I mean, it makes more sense to make your own. And during the pandemic, for us, it was a very, very nice sense of peacefulness because we knew that we could live off what we had stored and preserved and what we had growing for quite a long time without having to worry if it came down to it. I mean, it never did. But if it came down to it, we're pretty set up well here. So
it's a great life lesson for the majority of us, let's say in the United States, that everything comes from the supermarket, that we forget where it comes from, the amount of labor and time that goes into it.
That's very important, that people nowadays, a lot of people don't seem to realize where their food comes from. It's important to know that potatoes grow under the ground, and kiwis grow on vines in clusters, and pineapples grow in bushes out of the ground. It's important to know these things, and a lot of people don't. And I've had a couple of comments from people that are disgusted that I've eaten food that I've dug up from the ground, and I'm like, well, where do you think they come from? And with all seriousness, they've replied, the supermarket. And it's a shame that they don't.
And obviously it's healthier too. I think the video that I looked at last night, you're making the veggie burgers and making use of what you have. I mean, you are living an incredibly healthy lifestyle.
Well, there's a choice here. There's no fast food in this area. I mean, the nearest McDonald's is in Pompeii. That's just over an hour's drive away. Are you really going to drive an hour for McDonald's? No. So, and there isn't a fast food culture here. So if you want something, you make it. You can't buy soup here. You make soup. Most people make jam. You can buy jam, but most people make jam if they've got the means to. And everything is seasonal as well. So for now, we're in July. You're not going to find broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage because those are winter products, and you get them in the winter. They grow in the winter. So now in the summer, we've got peaches and nectarines and figs and plums, but you're not going to find them in the winter as well. So it's very seasonal, pretty local. You're starting to see a few fruits and vegetables come in. So for now, you can get mangoes now. In the last couple of years, every now and again I'll find a mango in a shop. It's, oh my God, I found a mango. It's so exciting.
Well, I'm in Florida, so I have more mangoes than I need. And actually, I was going to say that because I watched, and hopefully everyone else who watches your videos will have seen your jamming video. You do, I think it's nectarines, right? And I was it nectarines?
I remember.
Oh, it might be plums. Yes. They just, to me, they look like nectarines, but I think you did mention plums. And then you mentioned the product that you use. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this next year because I get more mangoes than I could possibly want. And I feel bad because a lot of them go to waste and the ducks and the squirrels have them. But
yeah.
So,
did you do it?
Sorry?
Did you make it?
No, I have to wait till next year because here mango season is June. So usually what I do is I cut and slice them and I freeze them. Okay. So, you can just take them out, make smoothies from them and everything like this.
Yeah. That's some frozen mango. We can't get that here. And that would be so nice to have that on hand. You learn to live without a few things here. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, well, right away we could trade. I'll take some of your plums and nectarines. You can have my mangoes and avocados, right? So, so talking about your YouTube channel, it has been largely centered lately around your garden and life there. And you said yourself that some of them you just kind of say, hey, but how much time kind of goes into actually planning a story? I mean, you are creating a narrative, like we said, there's no accident and there's a lot of work. So is there a lot of time beforehand? Or you
plan? I don't plan anything up until basically, for instance, Elizabeth might say, hey, we might be going out on a boat tonight. Do you want to come? And then I'll grab my camera. We don't plan anything though. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen here. It's just to grab the camera and go, if something interesting is happening, can I film it? Is that okay? And I just literally make it up as I go along. Sometimes when I get back from somewhere, I'll have to do a bit of research and then add in a voiceover explaining a few more things because I wasn't prepared. But I promise I do not plan anything at all. It's just
really, that's kind of the life of a photojournalist, let's say, is that you're always with your camera and sometimes the story will come to you. So that I was just curious. That's amazing to know. And one thing you did mention is you are writing your own subtitles, right? Yeah. Because especially if it's Carlo or somebody else, within the town who's speaking only Italian, you have to do that. So a lot goes into that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we tried when Carlo first started appearing in the videos, we tried getting him to speak in English, and I quickly realized he was very uncomfortable doing so and very slow. And then I did get a few comments saying, oh, it's so lovely to hear Carlo speak Italian. And my grandparents, they used to speak in the dialect. And then I quickly realized that people did like hearing the Italian as well. And it was also possibly quite an unusual thing to have a bilingual YouTube channel because either everybody speaks in one language or another. And so I thought, well, let's just try it with both. I'll speak in English, he can speak in Italian. It makes it easier when we're filming with somebody else. For example, we did a video with Antonio, the goat herder on the Path of the Gods.
Oh, I saw that.
He didn't speak a word of English. And if I'd wanted to do it in English, it would have been a completely different video. And I think it was so much more natural that I just went, Antonio, you just do what you have to do, talk to me, and I'll stick subtitles in. And I just think it made it that much more authentic because nobody's trying too hard. He was just chatting with me. And I just hope people I do get people complaining that I don't put subtitles in all the other languages, but
wow.
Yeah. I have 2% of my audience are Italians, only 2%. And they need to always comment, but why aren't I speaking in Italian, or why won't I put subtitles in Italian? But they're only 2%, and that's not fair on the other 98% of people watching. So I have to do it in English. That's my language. It's what I speak most comfortably in, and I'm in Italy, so it's just as fair that there is Italian in the video, but I will subtitle that in English because the major part of people that watch my videos are in English-speaking countries.
Okay.
So
do you know what's the most following is coming from
the US
States?
About 8%.
Mhm.
And then I think 12% from the UK, and then Australia, Canada, and and then India, I think, is the 5th one at the moment.
But I totally get you. We had the same thing with the magazine, is that our largest growing audience is from Argentina. And on the Facebook page, I had one commenter actually literally translate a post, which I don't really understand why, because Facebook does the translation for you. But anyway, it was a very nice gesture. So we finally have the website up in Spanish too, if they want to switch the language. And then after the US, Italy is the 2nd largest audience. Which I kind of scratched my head too, but I guess even Italians want to learn about their country. I don't know, they're curious. But
what you're writing about them.
Yeah, I guess so. That's why I was wondering if you had an Italy fan base, but no, you can definitely not do everything for everybody. So I do understand that. So I wanted to also ask you about, because you are, being in this with such a great social media YouTube following. I would say you are very generous, because you are going into businesses and giving them opportunities for exposure. Actually, I've made notes of some of the places that the B&Bs and that, and just interesting places to go. Is there a criteria, or is this something that you just feel, or you feel a connection to, that you want to talk about?
Oh, it works both ways. If they let me do a tour and show people around, let's say we're talking about a B&B or a villa. If they let me do a tour, that's video content for me, and it's good exposure for them. It works both ways. It's as simple as that. And also with the little shops and stuff, I just feel like I am trying to show part of my everyday life and where I go and what I do. So if I'm going to go and visit my friend Marta at La Selva, who makes her own perfumes and soaps and body oils and stuff, I want to show that, because I think that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show the process of what she does to make her products. And I now, over the last few months, people are starting to reach out and ask me if I want to come and make a video with them. And I mean, I say yes to everybody. It's just a matter of organizing my time and getting to do it.
So going back to, just seeing that as a great exchange, which I see too, but obviously you might find in time, if you haven't already, is that, you will be asked. So as a creator, because obviously you have a mission, you have a vision of what you want to be able to do. Do you feel that you would kind of discriminate what you would endorse, kind of thing?
Okay. First of all, I have never asked anybody for money for anything that I've ever filmed for anybody else. That's not me. That's not what I'm about. We've all been through the whole lockdown and loss of work together. And if I can help little local family businesses with their product or their business or their B&B, I'm more than happy to do that. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
Do not do posts. I don't do sponsored posts for various reasons. One, I don't think I've ever been approached by a proper thing. I see the other people doing it, but I've just had really dodgy offers. I mean, I got offered to do a sponsored post for sex toys, and I'm like, what do you want me to do a demonstration? So do you know what? It just hasn't come to me. Nobody's offered me anything that looks seriously real. But it's, in fact, I've always said, I'm not going to sit there. You're not going to catch me at the beginning of a video saying, and today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. I'm not going to do that. It's not me. It's not what my videos are about. So I'm more about highlighting local businesses, highlighting local artisan things that maybe like people making soap, people making wallets, or people painting ceramic plates, that sort of thing is what I want to show, because that's what the Amalfi Coast is about. There's no point me coming on here and trying to sell you Audible books, because that's not what my videos are about.
Right.
I mean, we always joke,
definitely.
If Carlo got called up by one of the big tool companies saying, hey, do you want to try our new drill? Of course, he'd jump at the chance to try that, because it's something that everybody knows. If they watch the videos, they know Carlo loves DIY and making things. So that would make sense. But it's not something that I'm searching for, and it's not something that I'm considering doing at any point in the future. I'm happy as I am.
And I'm glad for that. I think that's the greatest attraction. And I really think what you're doing, you know, for these businesses is important. And like you said, I mean, it is time on your part, but it's an exchange, which I think is very valiant. So, you know, hats off to you. So apart from YouTube, obviously a large part of your week must be managing social media. So I just want to ask you quickly, like, about how many hours a week do you think that takes up, and can you turn it off? That's the hard part.
So, well, we've come up with a sort of a system. So Carlo deals with most of the YouTube comments, because
Okay.
I will. So when a video goes out on a Sunday evening, I will sit there for about an hour and a half, and I will reply to as many comments as are coming in. But then I have to stop because I have to get up and cook dinner. That's the time it is. It gets to like 7:30 in the evening, and I need to stop because I need to make dinner for the family, and family comes first. So then after dinner, he will sit down and he will take over. I'll be clearing up, or I'll go and have a shower or something. And then in the mornings, I spend about half an hour after I've woken up. I'll just go through everything, reply to anything that needs to be replied to. I've got a bit of a phobia about comments, to be honest with you. If I do get a particularly bad one, it will ruin my day. And I'm not as strong as I should be. I get very easily upset by them. So I sometimes need to take a complete break from that, because if I get one that's really, really aggressive and just really rude, it just makes me so angry that people can get away with doing that. It makes me very angry that YouTube allows people to sign in under a fake name and bully people. And I think that's the biggest defect with Google and YouTube accounts, is that you can make up a name and go and do whatever you want. And I think that's really wrong. So I take about half an hour in the morning to reply to comments, reply to any emails. I don't get many emails, to be honest with you. I really don't get many at all. So very long. And then I normally don't really check my phone. If I'm out doing stuff, I'm very, very aware of that I'm out with people doing something, and I don't want to be that person sitting there on my phone when I'm out with friends. So I very rarely check my phone unless everybody else is doing it.
Yes.
I make sure that it's away, and
it's important.
Yeah. And then I make sure
I wish everybody was like that. When I'm eating, my phone is in my bag.
Yeah. No, I've got a very strict no phones at the dinner table rule as well.
Good for you.
And I'm also very strict about the amount of time I'm with my friends when I'm filming and when I'm not filming. I make sure that we have plenty of time together not filming. And then every now and again, I'll film something with them, so that I'm not always shoving a camera in their face. So that's important to me as well.
Yeah, it's good. I imagine that it's really hard to find balance, but it's good that you have kind of those. It's
doable, because if you boil it down, let's say the video that's going to come out this week is half an hour long, but that's half an hour out of a whole week. So when you think of it in that sense, it's not much at all. A whole week of my life, and I'm showing you half an hour.
Yeah. Although those of us who are looking at, we feel like we know everything about you, you know, because you've more or less welcomed people into your home. So, but yes, yeah, 30 minutes. That's true. You're putting that into perspective. So let's just kind of go into your life as an expat. Now it's funny because the section of the magazine is called Chat with an Expat, and I've learned now that some people don't like the word; they rather use another word. But for the sake of it being a cute title, that's the way it is. So do you know, or can you remember more or less when you really felt, you've been many years obviously visiting and living in Italy, when you really felt, hey, this is home, I've acclimated, I feel part of it?
I think when we moved into this house here, I think before that, even though I was here for a long time before that, I think I was here for 13 years before we moved into this house, but it never quite felt home because we were renting. And I think for me, the word home is very important. It's very important that I have my space, which is mine, exactly how I want it to be, and that it's somewhere that I'm happy to live. I think when I was renting in the town centre, I wasn't particularly happy with it. It was quite frustrating being in a property that you weren't allowed to touch or paint or change in any way whatsoever. So I think I definitely, as soon as we made the decision to move into this house here, I knew that I'd found my home. Definitely.
That's amazing. And that's just kind of the principles of feeling at home somewhere. So definitely as part, that was kind of the turning point of your life in Italy, is being settled in the home.
Mm.
That's amazing. Holly. So I believe it was in 2013. I was able to find a couple of your past interviews. There's Holly. I love Holly. She's beautiful. And on camera too. What a pleasure. So in 2013, you had said that you thought about, going back to England. Do you still think that way?
Oh yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I not so much. I think 2013 must have been on the cusp of when we moved here. So that interview, I'm not quite sure which interview you read. I think I know. Remember. But I think that was just before we moved here.
Into the house.
So I still wasn't really settled, but I think it's definitely changed my perspective being here, because now I'm very settled here. And if I could take this whole house and garden and move it anywhere in the world, I think I'd still be happy, because this is just so perfect for me. Sorry, I've forgotten the question now.
No, it was like, I believe in the article you said you dreamed about going back to live in England. So I guess, like you said, that was before the home that, so there, obviously that's a turning point too. But in the ideal, because like I said, we've been forced into just different circumstances, but in the ideal situation, you would just go back to just being in both places whenever you can.
I think it works for me if I can go to England whenever I want, spend some time there, and then come back here. Honestly, if I had to go back and live full time in England, I don't know how it would be, because I've been here for nearly all of my adult life.
Right.
I was a child in England, and I left my parents' house to come and live here. So I've never lived in England as an adult before. I'm not sure. And also because everything changes, because you think of where you used to be. I mean, my memories of England are living in my parents' old house, which they don't have anymore. It's changed houses now. All my friends being there. I know that my friends aren't there anymore. Most of them have all moved away as well. So it's, where would I go? Would I go back to that town? Would I go somewhere else? It's a very big question. And I don't know, because I'm now used to the Italian way of life. And I don't quite know, when I do go back, it's a novelty. Even just going to an English supermarket is a huge novelty for me, because you can park in this giant car park right outside, and there's so much choice. Whereas here, you don't take the car to go and do the shopping because there's nowhere to park. Mm-hmm. You go into a tiny little shop, and if you're lucky, there's 5 types of cereal to choose from, not 500 like an English supermarket. Yeah. You're lucky if you come out with everything on your list. So it's a big novelty going to England for me now, and it's overwhelming as well. If I go into a big town or into London and just wander around the shops, it's incredibly overwhelming, the amount of choice of everything. Whereas here it's very, very limiting. And here, if you want something particular, you have to order online, and then you have to wait forever, however long it takes to arrive. For example, I ordered myself a pair of sandals at the end of June, because my sandals from last year had pretty much fallen to pieces. They still haven't arrived yet, and we're near the beginning of August tomorrow. So it's been a month, and I'm still waiting for this pair of sandals to arrive. Now I'm thinking, will I get to use them this summer? Or will they be next summer sandals? And I've held off buying any others because I want that pair of sandals. Whereas in England, I probably just would have bought 2 or 3 pairs.
Yeah, definitely the conveniences, yes. But and it's the person that I last interviewed. She has too been the majority of her adult life in Verona, from New York, and she said, "I feel like an Italian American in Italy." And but when I go back to the US, even though my large part of my life is still there, my family, I feel more like an Italian. So it'd be interesting if you were to spend a long time, how much there's now an Italian in you,
Yeah,
even though we kind of idealize what it
definitely
might be
something.
like.
I know that I've had it where I've gone into a supermarket in England, and I remember vividly, this is a couple of years ago, I picked up some vegetable and I turned around to the lady next to me and I said, "What would you do with this?" And she looked at me as if I was absolutely mad, and she ran away. Whereas here, they would have been all crowding around to give me their recipes.
Oh, that's amazing. I would love that. I'd love to
Yeah.
cook. It won't happen here. We don't even, I was telling somebody, it's not even a stereotype. We just don't talk to our neighbors.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrible and sad, but it's true. So is there anything besides friends and family, obviously, that you do miss about England?
Just the convenience of being able to get things done immediately. I think that you have to bear in mind where I am in Italy, though, because obviously if I lived in a city, or probably even if I lived up north in Italy, it would be a completely different story. But because we're on this little peninsula with one very, very narrow, windy road, and it takes so long to get anywhere, it's the inconvenience of where we are that can be quite frustrating. And sometimes I just think, oh, it'd be so much easier if I was in England, because I'd just be able to go like that and get it done. Whereas here, you've got this whole palaver of doing a 20-minute hike up the mountain to get to the car, and then getting out of the coastal area, which is full of traffic because of all the tourist buses and taxis and everything. And it's just a big, big production to actually go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah, this is definitely, I mean, I think we take that for granted sometimes. And anybody who is thinking about living in Italy really has to think some of these things through.
Yeah.
I mean,
even being a makeup artist and living here, and for example, the other day I had a wedding, and it was the only wedding I'd had this summer, and I suddenly realized I needed to get new waterproof mascara, because I always replace my mascara every month, but because I haven't worked God knows when, I didn't have any new. And of course you can't buy mascara anywhere here. So it was a whole thing of having to go up and get the car and drive to a shopping mall. We went to Caserta in there, so it's an hour and 40-minute drive. Okay, we added in other things. Oh, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well buy this, we might as well get that done, and Sky can have new shoes, and Carlo can get a new pair of sandals. And we turned it into an opportunity to go and get all the things that we'd sort of been putting off because we're not going to drive all that way for one thing. So the other day we took a trip into Naples and got a few things done, but it's very rare. And I think that's another thing, the difference between the consumerism in the US or in the UK compared to here. It's a huge difference, because I remember in England, what should we do? Oh, let's go shopping, and let's go wander around the shops and try on clothes and maybe buy some. You just don't do that here. Well, not where we are here. So if you what should we do here is, oh, let's go down to the beach and go for a swim, or let's go for a hike in the mountain, or let's go and choose some new plants to plant in the garden or something. And it's very, very rare that we will go and wander around shops and buy things. So we're not big.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And I think, people who are attracted to the idea of Italy or anywhere else in Europe, they are looking for that, that kind of quality of life, the simpler things. So that's really nice to know that you can, live that way and see the difference, that, you do need those things, but it's not so much of a consumeristic interest.
Yeah.
So I always ask this question: what is your personal definition of an expat?
For me, an ex is somebody, oh, this is so silly, Honestly, if you ask me what to like describe an expat, for me, an expat is somebody in Singapore about 100 to 150 years ago, wearing a long white flowing dress and a big sun hat, sort of like that one there. Sipping on a gin and tonic in Raffles Hotel in Singapore and fanning her face. I think it's almost a bit of an antiquated word. It's just a bit of an old-fashioned word. I wouldn't particularly use it. Yes, I am an expat, but it's not a word that I would freely use myself. I think it's somebody who has obviously left one country to go and live in another one, but it's somebody who is like Peter Pan's Lost Boys, a bit in between places, never fixed in one place, just like hovering between different places. I think that's how I sometimes feel.
I like that.
I'm not one of here, but I'm not one of them back there either now. I'm just like a lost boy, just like floating in the middle.
Interesting. That was a great answer. Thank you. And a couple of more questions and then we'll wrap it up and then, sum up where we can find you. Is there any place in Italy that you have yet to explore that you want to get to? Even if it's not video documented, it could be just a place to get away.
Never, ever been down to the very, very, very point of the boot of Italy. I've explored a lot of Italy, but I've never been down to Lecce to the very, very end. And I'd like to get down there at some point. Definitely. I was very lucky because I worked on two series of a British cooking show, a TV show, and it was a cooking show traveling around Italy. So we did one season in North Italy and one season in South Italy. So I covered quite a lot of territory here, but I've just never made it right down to the boot. And strangely enough, I've never been to Milan. I think it might be one of the only major cities that I haven't been to. Yeah.
Right. So you never have to go through there to fly anywhere else. I guess, where do you fly into?
Naples.
Yeah, Naples.
I mean, because I'm flying to England. I mean, I haven't really needed. Okay, in the last few months, there haven't been any flights to London from Naples, but I haven't had to go. My daughter came back and she flew to Rome, so I just went and picked her up in Rome, which is a 3-hour drive.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then finally, that I explained to you earlier this morning, well, it was morning for me, is that September is the 1-year anniversary of the magazine, how it's coming, and it'll be our 12th digital edition. And we're going to theme it the thank you the edition, just because within this last year and a half or whatever, I mean, we've all been kind of put in a timeout where we've had to think about things. And I'm sure, you and your family have as well. Is there anything that you could say in the last year that you're thankful for?
I'm thankful for my friends who I consider my family here. The people like Elizabeth, if you watch my videos, you'll know who she is. Yeah. Friends that I have gathered around me, that we have made ourselves into our own little family, and we've all supported each other throughout this time. I think it's been very important because we haven't been able to be with our real families because we're all stuck in this together. Elizabeth's from Austria, Jackie's from Australia, and we're in this together without our families. So we've supported each other through this, where we've had everyday video calls where when we were stuck in lockdown, we couldn't even see each other. We would call each other every day, sometimes 3 or 4 of us all at the same time. And somebody might cry, the others would cheer them on, and we would just support each other and really look after each other. So I'm really grateful that I have that group of friends here that are in the same position as me, and we all look out for each other. And I'm really grateful that we all had internet throughout this as well, because it would have been a totally story without it.
Isn't that true? Yeah. The ability of, and also you connecting with your audience. It's just been amazing how much we need the internet like daily, but how it has been that lifeline. So I'm very glad for that.
That's the other thing. I'm really grateful for the wonderful comments that people leave me, telling me how the videos make them feel, or how the videos have helped them through a bad patch, or helped them through chemotherapy, or helped them through a family member dying. And getting messages like that means so much. And that's pretty much what's made me continue doing it, because sometimes I sit here and think, what am I doing? I mean, who do I think I am making these videos and putting them out online? What an idiot I am. People must be laughing at me. But then you get a message from somebody saying, oh, you've helped me through chemo. I'd watched your videos while I was doing chemo and things like that. And you think, okay, if I'm just helping like 3 or 4 people in that situation, I'll do it for them. So keep going.
Amazing. You've done an amazing job. And so I think, on behalf of all of us, we're very grateful for that too. It certainly is inspiring that you've shared your life and look what has happened. Okay, so anybody who wants to get to know you more, Nicki, and to find you, let's say for some reason they're watching this and they haven't watched your YouTube channel, tell us the best ways on social media to find you, starting with your YouTube handle.
You can find me either on YouTube or Instagram. I go under the name Nicki Positano, or you can find me on YouTube, the Positano Diaries as well, but they'll both come up. And that's it. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter or anything else. Just simple.
Yes, definitely. If you Google Nicki Positano, you're going to for sure get to her YouTube first. If you are interested and curious to know anything about Positano and some of those hidden gems, definitely. And Nicki's life, which is very interesting. We can learn a lot from. Be sure to have a look, subscribe. Do all those things you have to do on YouTube, which is like and share, and if you can, support their efforts on Patreon. So with that being said, we'll wrap this up and say bye. My name is Lisa Morales, and it's Live in Italy magazine. Easy to find. Just find Live in Italy mag on YouTube. On the website, it's www.liveinitalymag.com, and then of course Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, everything else. So Nicki, thank you so much. I know you are on your way to your next adventure. So thank you again for joining us, and please stay in touch. And I hope to connect with you sometime when I'm in the area.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And and next time you come to Positano, call me up and we'll go out for a drink.
I will, definitely. Thank you. Bye, Nicki.
Bye.